waiting 4 years to shake this hand, to be quite honest. I became a big fan of yours through several of your earlier films. Even Dwarf started small.
Yeah.
And but one of the things that touched me most was actually your autobiographical memoir of walking in ice.
A piece of literature, yeah.
I
write better than I make films. I think it will outlive all my films.
I think you do both quite exquisitely. It was wonderful watching this piece tonight, especially seeing it. I know you were just commenting that you don't feel it's quite a thing to watch something raw and show it to your audience. But why did you choose to show this particular piece in such a manner?
It was my fault. There was a big mistake I made. I actually was very intensely in work. I did 3 films back to back since last August, and I published a book, but I will talk about it in a moment. So they invited me to come here April 6th, and in the very early emails 3 weeks ago, they invited me, and I overlooked it for April 6, 2006. Oh. And I wrote a couple of answers back. Yeah, I'm just finishing a film, and it will be hard, but I can make a stopover on my way to Paris. And then 4 days ago, I write a message to them. Is there anyone to pick me up from Boston Airport? And I get a message back. Everything is correct. April 6 is correct. And that you are invited is correct, but you are a year early. You are invited for 2006. And I said, let's go for it anyway, because I can do it. So let's go wild. And they scrambled to make all this possible. I said I'd bring a few surprises, something that nobody has ever seen, like Grizzly Man in a kind of unfinished version, not completely mixed. And I brought a couple of other things, including the wild Blue Yonder, which is not mixed, and it's in a very, very bad 3rd generation play out of an Avid system. So,
which gave it the time code that confused.
The time code that was confusing and
it's
not mixed and
beautiful.
Still. Yeah, because I had a couple of questions. How would it be understood? Would they follow the story? Would they find it too long or too short or whatever, or confusing? So. It was just a coincidence that I mistook. You see, they said people eventually cancel an assignment, a commitment, but it's the first time ever that somebody comes a year early. So I showed this film, and I wanted not to come with empty hands. I wanted to bring something. So that film was shown here, and nobody has ever seen it before. And one of the elements why I was delayed, why I was mistaken, because there was such intensive work. Not only did I do 3 films, I also released a film in which I play the leading part, Incident at Loch Ness. Yes, it's not my film. People believe it's my film, but I didn't direct it, I didn't write it, but I'm acting in the film. So that was another thing. And I published a big book of prose, about 5 times the length of walking in ice, and much better. It's called Conquest. And Conquest of the Useless became an instant literary success in Germany. Some of the greatest poets like Peter Handke are going ballistic over it in ecstasy. They wrote wonderful letters about it, and it had in 3 months it had 3 editions already. So it will eventually be translated into English. Let's say in a year from now, you may see Conquest of the Useless, and it's better than all my films together.
Will you be reissuing? Say, A Walking in Ice in English? We were just discussing how that
it's not my business to do that. It's a publisher in England, and they are sitting on it and have not re-edited the book, and now it's a rare item, and people are scrambling to get a copy like you, and it cost you $80 a little book.
Yeah,
so it's absurd, and it should be reprinted sooner or later. It would be very good, but I'm working so much at the moment that I really forgot about the book.
Now, do you find, I know you didn't want to discuss too much about film, but let's talk about video then. Do you find that the newer technologies are going to be able to assist you in producing films or projects that you would like to work on, with your financial costs being what they are? And you were just discussing how you couldn't really pay Brad Dourif for long because of that. Will working in a medium such as video assist you?
Not really. I'm still a man of celluloid, and whenever I can shoot on celluloid, I would prefer celluloid for many reasons. Number one, it's still much better quality than any video, but it's a different kind of attitude. And let's not talk about all this. But I prefer celluloid. But I have done one film with a small digital camera 5 years ago, which was shot in video, but I had to shoot it in video for a couple of reasons. I was shooting in a location which was extremely hostile. So I was run over twice while I was filming it, and I had to be, and the place was so dark, it was so dark that I could only film on celluloid by installing lights. And that would have immediately thrown me out. People would have thrown me out. So I was silently standing, squeezed at a wall, and I had the camera down, a small camera, and I looked at the people. It was during some religious ceremonies, and I looked in Guatemala. I looked at the people, and I nodded at them and made eye contact, and then I picked up the camera and filmed in some direction. And then I looked at the eyes again, and I slowly moved the camera over, and I saw they wouldn't attack me, and I kept filming. So it was only possible to do it on video. So in that case, video was the only solution to do it. And yes, there are good possibilities now, in particular for young filmmakers who are doing their first things. You can make a feature film for $10,000. And if you work as a taxi driver or as a bouncer in a sex club, you can earn that in a year and save it and make a film.
With the proliferation of reality TV, specifically here in the States, what do you see the future, or how would you envision the future of the media, both medium as film and media as video, progressing? Is that something you think about?
Well, there's a lot of things going out that are fake reality. Or when you look at photos, you have to question, is it worked over by Photoshop and a few people taken out of the picture and a lion instead next to a person or whatever. So, and you have digital effects, and you have all sorts of fake realities, and it's good to play with it. And I've done, for example, acting in Incident at Loch Ness, which is a fake documentary, and it's all invented, all scripted, and it's okay to raise these questions and play with it. Otherwise, I still prefer to make films where the audience can trust their eyes again. Moving a boat over a mountain, a big steamboat over a mountain. If I had to do it today, I still would not use digital effects. I still would pull the boat over a mountain, a real boat, over a real mountain.
And I don't think we'd want it any other way. One last question is, how did you feel about how did you feel upon hearing about the passing of Reverend Gene Scott? I know you made a documentary about it.
I heard about it. It didn't affect me very much because I kept watching him somewhat, a little bit over the last couple of years, and he was not as wild anymore.
What originally brought him to your attention?
Oh, he was fascinating. I got addicted to him. He was wonderful. I mean, a TV preacher who blackmails and intimidates his audience and threatens to. He speaks right to his camera, and he says, if in the next 9 minutes I do not have $350,000 pledged by you, I will pull the plugs of my station. And in order to give you a taste what it means, I will now sit here and be silent. And for 9 minutes on live TV, he's sitting and keeps silent. And it's an eternity on live TV. And you see the phones in the background running hot. And in 7 minutes there were $350,000 in his coffers. So I loved him for that.
Any last words for viewers, potential filmmakers out there?
Just if you really want to make a film, just go out and do it. With $10,000 you can make a feature film. If you're able-bodied, earn it. And there's nothing like independent cinema. It's a myth. It does not exist. But there's such a thing like me. I'm not independent, but I'm self-reliant. So, and a film like The Wild Blue Yonder was something where I just scratched some money together, a few allies, and I immediately made the film. And I have no idea whether it will ever find an audience, but it will be out there. So don't be afraid, just try to be a good soldier.
Great, thank you so
okay.
much. It's a pleasure finally